The Hustle Share podcast is sponsored by One CFO, the Philippines' leading provider of fractional CFO services for startups, scale-ups, and SMEs. Are you seeing sales but not the profit? Feeling stressed about cash flow? Wondering how to fund your growth? Don't let your finances hold you back. One CFO, trusted by growing businesses like Quick Insure, Avian School, JLabs, Advance, One Lot, Colorette, and Stash, offer fractional CFO expertise and a cutting-edge CFO tech platform for total financial clarity. Take control now. Click the link below or visit onecfoph.co for your free consultation today. This episode of Hustle Share is brought to you by PLDT Enterprise, your partner that remains committed to your success. If you're loving stories of growth and grit, don't miss ROI to Success, a series powered by PLDT Enterprise that dives into real digital transformation journeys of Filipino businesses, from MSMEs to industry giants. Listen to the latest episodes and learn how PLDT Enterprise can power your business too. Visit pldtenterprise.com to explore solutions built for your success.
Of course, with competition, we also try other cakes. So we get to taste the cakes of our competitors. Magtitinginan na lang ako. Sabi ko, what do they like about it? Hindi naman masarap. Saan yung pera? So, up to now, nangihinaing pa kami, di ba? Parang, waste of money. Yeah, now, whenever we buy, sige, are you sure? Okay, we ask friends, have you tried it? Ganyan. Hindi pa, then we really have to try because that's our competitors. So we try other cakes too.
Welcome to Hustle Share, the podcast that features the daily grinds of unique hustlers around the world to show not our differences, but that our hustles are very much alike. Now here's your host, Ronster Baetiong.
Welcome to the latest episode of our Share Podcast. This is a very, very, very special episode because it's the pilot episode of the PLDT ROI to Success series within the Hustle Share Podcast. It's like a podcast within a podcast. Where again, PLDT Enterprise, big shout out to you because now we have access to more amazing entrepreneurs and founders out there, not just in tech, but obviously tech-enabled and tech-powered by the PLDT Enterprise a group. But again, this technology has no boundaries and no borders because today we're going to be talking about cake. 2 days before my birthday, di ba? What a nice timing.
Oh, good. So we owe you one, di ba, Ron?
Yes, there you go. Okay, I'll tell you my preferred flavor. But again, before I get carried away, I'd like to welcome to the show the co-founders of Cake to Go, Miss Marilyn Yap and Luis Messina.
Hi.
Welcome to the show, guys. And thank you in advance for my cake.
Thanks.
Again, thanks so much. I'm a big fan. So prior to recording the episode, I told you I knew you guys for a long time. Because I myself was born and raised in the Kamuning Road area.
Oh, thank you.
So parallel to that, to the right, is Timog Avenue.
Yeah.
And I have cousins nearby near Scout Ivardolaza. And every single time I go to them, the one thing that I'll pass by is Cake to Go in Timog Avenue. And trust me when I say this, I've been bailed out whether I'm the recipient of the cake or I've given out the cake over the past 20 plus years because of you. So I want to do a big shout out.
Thank you for that.
No, I swear.
I appreciate it.
No, and you guys have bailed out so many people. Especially pag madalian. Like, oh my God, where am I going to get my cake?
Yeah, so I guess the concept worked, di ba, Ron?
No, absolutely. So again, you're preaching to the choir. I'm a customer, I'm a user, and I'm a big fan. But before I get carried away, again, guys, I need to ask you the $1 million question. Guys, what's your hustle?
Marilyn, define what the hustle is.
Yeah.
Well, basically, cake shop. Well, yeah, we do sell cakes, not the typical cake, like, and we also do delivery. So yeah, I guess we were the first.
We were actually the pioneers.
Yeah, we're the pioneers.
Starting this kind of
setup.
Yeah, set up for
Delivery.
business, which is the takeout delivery.
Mhm.
The concept evolved from the fact that, I saw the niche that we don't have. Diba? Parang takeout and delivery that makes it easy for you customers to just drop by and get the cake.
Yep.
Whatever need that you may, arise in your life, diba?
Yep.
So that's actually the hustle, diba? So we made the go at it, and so far we're still here.
Yep.
Diba? After 20 years.
And you guys are killing it. And again, want to give flowers to you. Not because you're the guest, but I'm a user. Again, growing up in the Kamuning Road area, right? You were so ahead of your time. If you this started out 03 and 04, 03 and 04, mind you, there wasn't any smartphones yet at that time, right?
Yeah.
And so ahead of time. And what I really admire about what you guys do is that as a pioneer in any industry, and I've seen this time and again. I've done that in every single startup that because whenever I start a business, usually it's the first of its kind. Now it's podcasting. Before it was chatbots. Before that, it was nightlife. There is an evangelization period where it's so painful because at the first few years, nobody understands what the hell you're doing. And you need to be able to...
Exactly. You're thinking out of the box and you're doing something that's, different. So that's the pain of having to grow it.
Correct. But you have to survive. Because what if you don't make it, then when the tide turns and you're dead, sayang.
Yeah, exactly, diba? But you keep on trying, just entrepreneurs like us, diba? That's how we are.
Right.
That's the mindset, diba? So, failure is actually most often than not a lesson rather than something that you just accept.
Mm-hmm.
Diba?
Absolutely. It's a prerequisite to success. But before we even do that, I need you guys to buckle up. I will pick you up at the corner of near Buddies, just across the street, where the thing, because I need you to buckle up because we're going to have to go all the way back and talk about your origin story because we're going to have to ride the Hustle Share Time Machine. Okay. Now, the one thing that's interesting about, I was reading your backstory, is that typically when people are in the cake or pastries, whatever business, they would be coming from a family of bakers or who are naturals in the kitchen. And correct me if I'm wrong, but in 03 and 04, it says here that Luis, when you started this out, you were not a baker. Well, how did the origin story of Cake to Go even start out in 03, 04? Sorry, I'm gonna carbon date you. 03, 04, I was in second or third year high school.
We started 2005 actually.
Around that time. No, but I had this in mind already even before I asked Marilet to come in as an investor. Actually, my mom had a bake shop.
Okay.
Originally, I don't know, of course, siguro baby ka pa nun, di ba? The time ingredients when there was still a Gouda in the corner of...
Yes.
You remember that? So the one in the corner of Missouri and Connecticut Street, if you remember that. Di ba?
Okay.
So that
Green
time,
Hills.
Originally had a bake shop with a partner then. So we grew up with, my mom actually was a home baker. So we grew up having to have had, her, all the bake stuff, and she cooks and does baking well. So, they put up this small bake shop called Goodies and Sweets. So I don't know if you're familiar with it. Anyway, from that point on, I was exposed to that kind of, my mom sort of was home baker, entrepreneur type, but, not to that level where, she can grow it like a major business. Anyway, that's how it started. So, but during that time, I wasn't really into... well, one, I'm not really a baker. I'm more of an entrepreneur or businessman.
Okay.
So I started off really as, just like, you're an entrepreneur. So, you find
opportunities.
Opportunities to make money, diba? So whether it's through food or, I was originally, with clothing, in the clothing line.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember when before I started this off, I was in the embroidery business.
Wow.
Remember the personalized stuff?
Yep.
So it was called Monograms Plus.
Monograms.
So that we had it in SM. That was also, we started off. That was also a concept that I created. Although initially it was personalized, it who started it. So, but we came up with it in the SM stores that time. And it was also, one of the few businesses that I started off with a new concept. Parang something like a Uniqlo now, diba? That had no brand. But my idea was to put your
logo.
Brand yourself, your logos. And, I created a clothing line, more or less, of that sort. So that was my line, actually.
Got it.
When we started.
My question though is that okay, so obviously this is a complete pivot. I've had an experience. Your mom obviously comes from a baking family that you've seen that hustle, so you understand. I want to understand two things. First off, how did that come up with? How did you guys come up with a cake to go business? Again, very ahead of its time, and I want to understand how Miss Marilyn came into the picture to invest. You said, and how did this come about?
Yeah, so that time, when was this? 2004.
We 2003.
Yeah, 3.
And then that time kasi Louis was already supplying. He's been supplying cakes to restaurants. Side hustle. I don't know.
Got it.
He's been doing that. Of course, diba? Being someone who produces something that's good naman, of course, you want to have your own parang showcase. So I think that's one of the reasons why he wanted to start this type of cake business. Parang so he invited me to invest. So, ayun, and then that's where it started.
Yeah, because I did that time kasi when I tried to, when I had the concept actually, I had what do you call this, a project study that I did.
Okay.
Because I didn't have any money that time. So coming off from, I was previously married. Got separated. So, the business which we started with my ex-wife was basically also on food and also some with the cakes, diba?
Got it.
So that point on, so after I got separated, I didn't have anything, on my plate. So I didn't have any money and all that. So I was trying to start out. So I was trying to start my life again, diba? So maybe, I always had it in my mind that I wanted to start off just something that was easy. Basically easy, because I didn't have any because my mom had a parang coffee shop, like something like a Mary Grace or they easily had that. But I didn't want the hassle of actually having to have so much people, and at the same time, the mindset of a businessman, diba? Parang you always look at pricing and costs, diba? More than anything else. Diba?
Margin.
Yeah, exactly. Margins and all that. You all start from there. I was coming from that end. When I had this concept, parang I wanted to, primarily one, was to, know that market that I wanted to target, diba? Meaning to say, the price points by which I can market whatever I was going to sell, which was the cakes. And at the same time, having to do that with, with the location where I was going to, put it. So it was going to be easier for them. So that was the mindset. So, but to start off with, when I did apply for a loan in one of the banks, major banks, they turned down my proposal. So, I didn't have any money to start off with, diba? So Marilyn, for that time, I met her, through a common friend, and we started going out, as a couple, diba? So I figured, why not ask her? She was working for that time when we were kids, Chibo. She was working
in Marta. Yeah.
So she was also in the food business, and she was, exposed to that kind of. So I asked her because I didn't have any other choice where I didn't want to have a friend, because usually when you get partners as friends as partners, diba, normally there's some difficulty in
Yep.
Well, diba, parang there's a line wherein, you don't want to cross. I've had
Correct.
partners in previous businesses that, hampered the business instead of growing it. Sometimes it's a hit and miss, diba, you ever run?
Yep.
Some partners you can have that can hamper you, and there's some partners you can grow it, diba?
Yep. Correct. There's
So
no in between. It's either you mesh well,
Yes, you
or
mentioned-
like you're polar opposites, and
Yes,
things are gonna
diba?
burn.
Somehow, kasi when you get partners, sometimes everybody wants to be the alpha in the group.
Yeah.
Diba? So that's what I learned. Diba?
Yeah.
So, I wanted to, the third time doing it, diba? And I was like into the cake business already alone. So I figured it's going to be difficult for a partner to supersede me in terms of how I wanted to run the business, because I was the only one who knew how to do it.
Correct.
So what I wanted to have is just a financial partner, or maybe on the partner for the operations, in terms of, having to run it. So there, I thought of, ask Marilyn if she wanted to invest and see if it would work out, So I also asked my sisters or abroad at the time to lend me some money, or maybe they gave it to me. Would you believe started out with with very measly amount of about 3 to 350,000. Start of a store, diba? So I asked Marilyn for some money to put in, and we found the space which was ample enough to fit in the budget. Not the it really started off in a very not so expensive place, not very commercial.
Yep.
Kumbaga, at the outskirts of, let's say, para sinasabi mo, the communing area, doon ka lang sa you fit na kaya ng budget mo, di ba?
Yep.
That's where you start off. So, parang you wanted to take off with whatever it is that you had.
Yep.
So, I created and it's true up to this point, I can't consider myself a baker because I don't bake. I'm not a chef. I wasn't, formally trained. That's why every time I get asked, how did you do it? Just like us, any other business, entrepreneurs, you learn how to adapt to whatever you pursue, isn't it?
Correct.
You learn it along the way, and we still are learning it as we go along, diba? And we are surprised that we reached this long.
Yep.
So I guess, somehow the idea clicked. Yeah, so here we are, diba? After 20 years.
Yep.
And 18 stores.
Wow. And again, there's a gestation period to this, and I want to understand just what people don't understand in any business. So in any traditional, especially now in TikTok, what you always see outside is just the success, and success is an iceberg. We always say this. Every single entrepreneur will tell you this. What you see, like some guys are, who lack a bit of humility in their life will flex that. Whatever whatever outcome they got. So especially the young kids would be like, oh, I have a Rolex, I have this house, blah, blah, blah.
It's
like, man, 10%, it's only 10% of what you see that's out there. But underneath the water, there's 90%, which is all the ugly stuff that comes up with entrepreneurship. And it starts in the first day up until the first few years. And I want to understand, especially with your dynamic, you guys were ahead of your time. What were the earliest challenges that you remember you had to overcome? And I call it NDEs, near-death experiences. Because everybody has NDEs. Like, we were one whatever away for not making payroll or whatever. What were the early NDEs that you remember you guys had to go through?
Well, good thing about us is, I kept our overheads pretty low, diba?
Yeah.
So that means
stay lean.
Yep, stay lean. So that means we had to do everything for ourselves. That means this, we were at the floor, we were at the delivery.
We started in his house.
Yeah, we didn't have a commissary. No, it's not even in my house. At the side porch of my mom, which it wasn't even in the kitchen. So I set up a table.
Okay.
I set up a table that, my mom lent me her, old oven. You know, a commercial oven at the very least, diba? At least it was a commercial oven. It wasn't a home oven. Borrowed their, you know, mixers, and you know, that's how we started. But that's how it all came about. And we do the baking. I think with me, I had a baker that I had previously. You know, my mom helped me train him.
Okay.
So from that point on, we just winged it. Diba? Parang, I really did. I don't remember how I came up with the menu, you know, because, you know, I was, you know, I always liked cakes because I grew up with, you know.
Yeah,
diba? Parang having them. But I had this, I guess, entrepreneur in you that you try to create and you see what the market doesn't have.
Correct.
So
experiment.
Experiments, yeah. So initially, I had to take down the cost and the price of the cake. So I don't know if you were still a young boy then, but that time, when the sugar houses and the red ribbon started out, you know, the cakes were like 10 inches.
Yep.
It's humongous in height.
Yep. You can't even commute with that thing.
Exactly.
Because all it takes is one idiot to knock it up, and then by the time you get home, it's gonna be a mess.
Yeah, you're gonna feed the whole bus that you're in, or initially that was what I wanted to solve.
Yep.
Initially, parang I studied the market. I actually graduated marketing from college. So I somehow had that mindset. Now, how do I bring down the costs with having to have cakes like this? Because my mom didn't. Well, said just like any other old person, they would not adjust to that.
Nope.
They always thought of it as some, parang that's how
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I first tried to do. To bring down the cost, I downsized the cake. If you remember it, so
now that's a standard, by the way. I don't see big cakes anymore unless you're in weddings.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. So I downsized it to a size wherein I studied the median family. Diba, parang that time, a family of 4 would not be able to finish a humongous cake like that. So, I studied the demographics and how at that time, the generation that we had would normally have, family size and all that. So normally you would want to keep the cake for a whole month in your refrigerator before you could finish. But so I downsized it to, let's say, that 7.5 size or 8.
Yep.
So I answered my cost. I got the solution to my problem wherein to bring down the cost of the cake. Yeah, that was the general idea. So the price was okay, diba? I got it down to that price wherein I could compete. Obviously, the taste, that's very subjective.
Correct.
Diba? Taste is really subjective, diba?
Yes.
So I wanted to at least compete with the likes of Red Ribbon, the Time Sugar House. Diba? Those are the only 2 major competitors at that time with regards to the baking. Diba? So, and I was confident more or less. Somehow the taste was decent up to this point. Decent, but I felt that, syempre with Filipinos, I don't know, with the generation now, it's different. As you well all know, price would always be, one of the factors wherein you purchase things, diba?
Yep.
So then I thought of convenience, meaning to say, how would you, come about with the product? Well, cake has become, a staple in
any occasion.
Family, now, diba? Just like a pandesal, cake has become a staple wherein, you can have it daily, on occasions, as a dessert and all that. So, the convenience having to not go into a mall, that was actually my original concept. You don't have to go to a mall to buy, usually the bake shops then were situated in big malls, diba? Sabi ko, paano ko ba mapapamura to na, just relocate them mostly in traffic, commercial traffic areas.
Yep.
Mostly near the subdivisions, na people easily, going home, you can access it. And all that. That's how the original concept was. Fortunately, we were located in an area where outside of, Where was the store, Marilyn? In San Juan, di ba? Was it San Juan? O yun nga, parang sa gilid ng Green Hills.
Yes. I think you even had one in
That was
Domingo ba? In Domingo area?
No, it's the one in Santolan.
You remember Santolan?
It's actually the first store.
So that was our first store. It was like that area where in the corner of Ortigas and Santolan, there was like a small commercial building there.
Near Savory.
Yep.
Yeah.
Near Savory, diba? That was the not even Ortigas, yung Santolan side, Kumbaga sa gilid ka nga, diba? Yun yung mas mura eh. Pag nasa Ortigas ka, mahal na yun.
Parang PLDT.
Right.
Yun. That's where we got the space where it was the cheapest rent that we could get. Now that could fit in our refrigerators and you know, our tray chillers. Yun. That's how we started, diba?
Love it.
Daanan.
And also, if you just look at it, yes, you're not at the high traffic area of those, say, Masa. But the people that can pull up, drive by for 5 minutes are the people that live in Horseshoe, the people that live in Green Hills. They're the ones going to Xavier.
Exactly.
And all that. Or
that area. So
New Manila.
New Manila and all that. Initially, ganon. That was yung daanan ka ba, makita ka lang. When they see you, ano ba to? Diba?
Ay, hala, Mansari, I need to go to my jowa.
Kalimutan ko.
Wala.
So initially,
that's me a lot of times.
So initially, we were open until when we were running by ourselves until 10 o'clock. Kasi, diba, malls close usually then by the time, mga 8, 9. So siguro pag nakalimutan mo dumaan sa mall at lagot ka, diba? So ito, may kapapuntahan. Diba, parang, so I covered all the tracks that it would give us the opportunity to.
A lot of guys will thank you. I swear to God, you don't know how many times we bailed us out.
To compete. Diba? In that sense, that was the idea. So, I got one box stick because our tagline actually is price, taste, and convenience.
Yes.
So I ticked up the price, I ticked out the convenience. Yung taste na lang, di ba? But taste is very subjective, as I was telling you. So, well, that's how we went from, how we started the business.
Okay, now I wanna ask one thing before we take our first break. Okay, so at the start, there's gonna be a lot of struggle, and every single startup founder, any type of entrepreneur goes through this. And sometimes this is also where an entrepreneur gets made or gets broken.
Yeah,
because those ones who don't have the mettle or the gut to go through the ugly, the painful, where you can't sell anything and everything's just falling apart.
Yeah.
If you don't have the gut for that, you'll probably say, "Hey, I'm done. This is not for me." Yeah. But for those ones who are really persistent enough, they're able to adapt, able to pivot, and get to the point where there's a eureka moment, there things are starting to work. I want to understand when you felt things started to work. Now there's momentum now after all the first few struggles you had to go through. Miss Marilyn, I'd love to get your feedback on this.
Well, actually, it's been smooth sailing for us since the beginning. So what just parang surprised me was because we opened April in 2005. May, June, July, August, September. Parang, smooth sailing. Again, parang nakikita. People come in and go. Parang, this is store here. Well, this is new. Parang, kasi we're like a hole in the wall eh.
Right.
I was just surprised. Pagdating ng December, Christmas, talaga, oh my God, parang ito naming customers. Ang dami. So, parang,
Luis is stuck na in the kitchen. There you go.
So, kasi we do things ourselves. So, we only have like 2 staff. Initially, we had, for the store. So, we only have one staff plus me. So, every day in the morning.
No, we had the delivery that time. We had one delivery guy.
Yeah, we'll bring the cake from the house, bring it to the store, and then he'll leave me in the store with one staff, and then he'll go back to the house to make more cakes with a baker, and then in the afternoon he'll go back to the store to bring another few more stocks. So And then, yun nga, since we were able to hire a delivery guy for us, so but syempre hindi pa masyadong because it's very new di ba? Parang people would want to go to the store to see your cakes and then we offer delivery service, ganyan. So hanggang sa ayun, unti-unti na build up siya. So kaya nga nagulat ako pagdating nung Christmas, parang I had to call him. You have to come back right away because people are, it's so overwhelming. Dalawa lang kami, talagang left and right, parang, oh my God, ang daming customers. So I was happy and very overwhelmed na, ayun, I think, di ba parang, I think we ROI'd our initial, during that, season.
That year.
That same year.
Yeah.
ROI to success na. Sumakses na kayo.
No, because we didn't have any money to start off with. I mean, except the seed money that we had.
Right.
Yeah.
So we never loaned to. After that, it was just from what we earned.
You rolled your profits.
Yeah, we just rolled profits, so forth and so on.
Yeah. So what's funny is, so initially we won't get any salaries from salaries to our staff, but us.
Wala.
No.
Labor of love. Sweat equity.
Pampagkain.
No, and that's normal.
Yes, everybody goes through that, di ba, Ron?
Yep. And again, if you're not ready to do that, especially if you're coming from corporate, be prepared. That's why if you're an entrepreneur and you want to jump in, or you're a entrepreneur, first-time founder, you want to have enough savings in the bank to be able to live off of, because you cannot rely on your business to put your livelihood on, because that's where a lot of terrible mistakes happen when all of a sudden your coffers that you're supposed to roll over profits, all of a sudden you're running it like a mom and pop. Hugot.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you don't have a float.
Yeah. Well, luckily for us, talagang, we did, di ba, normally when you start off a business, you have to have some working capital.
Yep.
On hand. Us, we didn't have.
So now you're forced to sell and
jump into the app. You're forced to sell. You jump into the ship, without the lifeboat. Di ba? Parang you're a Titanic without having to have that lifeboat.
Yep.
If anything, you will sink definitely.
Yep.
It was like, go into it blindly, but I was like confident that maybe, hopefully, di ba, with the onset of the new concept, plus the fact that, we were the only delivery at that time, di ba? So obviously, Marilyn had to tweak between having to prepare the cakes, sell the cakes, and at the same time answer the telephone line if ever there's a delivery. Yeah.
There's no Facebook ba nun?
No Facebook, no whatever. I think that time, no Facebook.
Yep, none.
Wala. It was just you rely on the phone for phone calls, di ba? We just advertise it. The traditional way of, word of mouth. Wala namang, we didn't have any money for advertising, no money for. So it was all word of mouth, actually. It all grew from there. Yeah, the call. So we'd rely on delivery. So that was the concept, delivery takeout, diba? So originally, both the technology at that time was only the phone, saved us.
Yeah, correct.
So being in a very not so commercial space, we weren't in a mall. The only thing that you'd really rely on is that telephone and the walk-ins that you have.
Right. Sounds good. All right, now let's take our first break. And when we come back, we will talk about how they were able to grow in the digital era, how they were able to scale up during the pandemic, and how they are able to kind of execute to success and ROI to success in the next part of this episode. But let's talk about that more after the break.
Hey, hustlers. Ever feel like money's flowing in, but your profits are nowhere to be seen? Is managing your cash a constant source of worry, leaving you anxious about day-to-day operations? Or are you holding back on growing because you're unsure if your financial situation is stable? These financial concerns can really limit your business growth and stress you out. And the real reason? You don't have a clear picture of your finances. Without a strategic financial partner, you're trying to find your way in the dark, constantly vulnerable to hidden pitfalls. But what if things could be different? Imagine having a seasoned fractional CFO who totally understands these challenges and provides you with clear, straightforward steps to increase profits and grow steadily, all without the hefty price tag of a full-time CFO. That's what One CFO offers. One CFO combines the strategic thinking of experienced CFOs with its own cutting-edge CFO tech platform. A powerful combination that provides you with transparent, real-time insights. They've become the go-to fractional CFO of growing companies like QuickInsure, Avion School, JLabs, Advance, OneLot, Colorette, and Stash, helping them conquer financial challenges and achieve remarkable progress. Picture this: finally having a crystal clear view of your financial performance, giving you the confidence not just to plan, but to execute bold, growth-driving strategies. So, what's the simple step to make this your reality? Click the link in the description or go to onecfoph.co right now and book your free, no-obligation consultation. This is your direct opportunity to explore how One CFO can provide strategic direction on your specific business challenges, gain clarity in your finances, and grow your business with confidence.
Okay, guys, quick break to thank our sponsor, PLDT Enterprise. We're all about growth here, and if you're serious about scaling your business, you need the right partner. PLDT Enterprise is committed to your success, offering fixed, wireless, and ICT solutions for businesses of every size. So if you're ready to transform, check out pldtenterprise.com. That's pldtenterprise.com to explore their digital solutions for your business today. And we're back from the break. We are still with Luis Messina and, of course, Marilyn Yap, then who was able to tell us the origin story. And I love it because as a startup founder, so just to give you an idea, I use technology differently. The way most tech startups are done, and I wish I didn't think this way because I was forced to then think like a normal art entrepreneur. You go big or go home. So it's very different, guys. So for example, you create an MVP, you raise hundreds and thousands of dollars, millions of dollars. Yeah. Hopefully you become the next Facebook. If you don't, you crash and burn. That's so stressful. If you get lucky, you get your company acquired. Like my second company, I was able to get it acquired. Social mobility right away. I was able to give back everything that my mom did for me. But there's a lot of more horrible stories where after everything you've done, you're dead. But in this current startup that I'm in, which is Podcast Network Asia, we started out at that path. And then somewhere along the way, when the funding winter where VCs couldn't dish out funding anymore, we were forced to pivot to really play the game of cash flow. That's when I felt like I was really a true blue entrepreneur, because entrepreneurship should be predictable. Cash flow should be predictable. Cost should be low. And that any sustainable business should work and function on those fundamentals. Yes. And that's what I love about your story. Because since day one, you knew now, okay, this is limited runway only, limited budget. Yeah. Put into good work and you were able to scale it up. But there's a catalyst on how technology helps every business. You were cakes to go. Cake to go. Yeah. You did this pre-Facebook, pre-social media, pre-everything. I want to understand when technology became the technology that we knew now. Apps, smartphones, internet. How did that affect your business when the level of technology started evolving to at this pace?
And now, diba? Yeah. Now that one, it had both. How would you say it? The positives and the negatives. Right. Well, the positive of it, from how I observed it, is the ease of having to expand it. Diba? Most especially with our type of business, we definitely did take advantage of it and do some advantage having to grow it much faster. Correct. And monitor the stores easier, diba? But that's how it did help us, diba? In terms of the technology of the internet, the fast speed internet, and all the solutions that they provide. Right. that really did help us. On the negative side of it is the competition, diba? So now it becomes easier for everybody to do both your marketing, both your everything. Everything has become easier for everybody, like all of us, diba?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get into business, it's a lot easier now to be known. I mean, the social media,
Yeah.
you know, the
marketplace.
The marketplace, everything is there for you. Not, I mean, which we didn't have at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Diba? So the lucky part of this, you know, we got our foot ahead of, and most of these startups, diba? And that's big. Technology is a big part of it. So I would say half the battle is won when you have this access to technology, diba? Diba? Don't you think so, Ron? Parang,
no, totally.
Parang it's a lot easier for them to build your market. Once you have a good product to launch, the platforms are all there.
Yep.
And at the same time, having to run the business, it provides us that technology wherein you can monitor everything, you know, without having to actually be there.
Mm-hmm.
Diba? And have numerous stores, and at the same time monitor them all at the same time, easily wherever you would be. But that's what technology allows us to have.
Yep. And the beauty about the setup here, especially with PLDT Enterprise, technology is. I always say this, like, okay, AI. Now it's AI. Before it's internet. Before it's mobile apps. All these technology is easily available to everyone, but not everyone. Only actually a select few knows how to leverage it correctly. Yeah. And what I love about what PLDT Enterprise does for businesses like yours is that they don't leave you, okay, ito na, internet, high speed yan, bahala ka na. It's not like that, right? Because everyone has it. It's the same tool that everybody has. But if you're able to wield it and make it work for you so you can actually automate, delegate, and make everything easier, then you can chase bigger things. Yeah. Right?
Exactly. That's what they provide. But well, that's a customer service that they do have that, you know, we take advantage of. That's why it makes it easier to do so, diba? For us to proceed.
Totally agree. But I want to understand several things, because as entrepreneurs, I shared this quote a couple of weeks ago, that the growth of a business is eerily or probably parallel to the growth of the founders. Because if you don't grow as a founder, the businesses will also not grow. I want to understand from your point of view, Ms. Marilyn, what are the things you had to learn and unlearn along the way that allowed you guys to become better co-founders or better management people for Cake2Go?
Yeah. Okay. So, well, basically, since both of us are not really bakers when we started, so, diba, as you go along, you have to learn yung technicalities of, you know, how do you create these things, diba? How do you make it into a big batch or something? So, so we had to, I had to go to some schooling of some sort, you know, just some basics, diba? And then there's an oohs and ahs, ganito pala yun. So this is how you do it, diba? So, yun. Unlearning, parang there's nothing to unlearn.
Wow.
Parang, kasi you learn from your whatever mistakes. Dapat pala ganito, diba? So, going to baking school, so you realize na, meron tayong mali, ganyan. So, maybe we you know, even with the decorating of the cake, of course, kasi with the competition now, di ba? Kailangan pagandahan kasi it's not just the taste
Yep.
Especially the market now, more
IG worthy.
Yeah. Kahit hindi masarap. No, that's true. Kahit hindi masarap. Basta maganda, di ba? May experience. Kasi we try, of course, with competition, we also try other cakes. So we get to taste the cakes of our competitors, magtitinginan na lang ako. Sabi ko, what do they like about it? Hindi naman masarap. Sayang yung pera. So, up to now, nangihinayang pa kami, di ba? Parang, waste of money. Now, whenever we buy, sige, are you sure? Okay, we ask friends, have you tried it? Ganyan. So, hindi pa, then we really have to try because that's our competitors. So we try other cakes too.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Now, I want to understand the pandemic. Everybody, again, there's always that's like when Thanos snapped half the universe, everybody will go back to the pandemic. Whether it was good or bad for them. I want to understand how you guys were able to leverage, and was there any prior investment, say like with PLDT Enterprise, that allowed you to become ready or at least be in the best position to be able to do this during the pandemic? What happened? Or if you had pivots, what were you able to do that allowed you to thrive during the pandemic?
Well, during the pandemic, as we all know, when you started out the pandemic, there was mostly lockdown.
Exactly. Longest lockdown in the world.
Yeah, longest lockdown in history. Maybe longer. Well, in a way, parang when you started out, parang it's like any other business, diba? You kind of panic, diba? You wouldn't know how to go about, going through this. Everything was new at the time, diba?
Yep.
But forced to pivot, really, definitely. So, fortunately, diba, with the government allowed some businesses to open. And ours, for one, it was through heaven's grace, maybe, that we weren't situated mostly in most of the stores at that time. Up to this time, we were not situated in malls, diba? So that proved to be, a game changer for us. So most of our stores were outside. So when we were allowed to do business and we were like, tagged as the basic necessity.
Yes,
diba?
Of course.
Diba? Parang paano ka naging basic necessity? Cake.
Because there's always a birthday. Diba? Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, pandemic, we did well during the pandemic.
Yeah, hindi. It was
nice.
We opened up kasi nga nobody could go to work. Diba? There was no basic transport. So we had to start picking up our employees by ourselves to open up a few stores initially just to be able to cover, to earn something at that time when it started.
Yeah, we and start in inventory, diba?
Yeah.
Kasi parang all of a sudden, okay, March 20, lockdown. We're like, oh my gosh, what about
the inventory that you had and all that? So I don't know at that point when the pandemic started, parang they slowly allowed businesses to operate, diba? At first, diba, our commissary, that was our worry. Because even if they allowed the stores, you wouldn't be able to supply the stores if we didn't have the commissary running. So we were able to, adjust to, diba, space. I don't know, alam mo, there was like social distancing, diba? So we had to comply by all government regulations to comply with first the commissary. So we set up whatever just to comply with the government regulations. When we started at the commissary and we could produce, that's when we opened stores one by one, diba? So we were the one going around. We had we had the at least privilege of having to have, diba, you had that pass.
Yep.
During checkpoints na makakaikot.
Yep.
So we were lucky enough to get that pass. So kami dalawa ni Marile would go around the stores, deliver, diba?
That was scary, especially those times. That didn't have vaccines yet. Oh my God.
Exactly. So everybody was like confined to, all the checkpoints that you have to go through, diba? Just to be able to go from one location to the one city to the next, diba?
Yep.
So that's how we started, just like everybody else. Luckily, the pandemic proved to be more of a blessing to us in terms of sales.
Yep.
Because we were one of the few stores that thrived so much. Our sales went through the roof, diba? Because everybody could not go out. And siguro, I guess, because of depression, ano ba bang pagagawa mo? But to celebrate, siguro, araw-araw, they were eating whatever. Whatever you can grab on just to get the depression out. Diba? So, everybody just ate all the sugar that they can.
Yep. So, and then the ube cheese pandesal was not a daily option. Everybody was eating ube cheese pandesal.
Exactly. The ube cheese
and dalgona opi.
You remember, it just blew up. That ube cheese pandesal, everybody pivoted at that time, di ba?
Yeah. Everybody learned to bake.
Yeah, everybody learned how to bake. Everybody, which is, in a way, a good thing. That was, I think, the blessing. Everybody started becoming entrepreneur. Di ba? You were forced to pivot and do that. So for us, we were like lucky enough to be able to use both the technology of, the fast internet speed and all that to just thrive on just pick up and delivery.
Yep.
Was there a Grab that? No, there was already Grab at the time.
Yeah, there was already Grab, but then again, people are scared to, you're gonna order through Grab, you don't, the rider is safe.
Diba everybody was scared that time na who was handling your food. Diba? That time we didn't have any knowledge of how this virus was. Even, pati yung kahon namin, kailangan alcoholan nila bago nila makuha.
Lysol was everything.
Exactly. So, went through that just like everybody else. But we did thrive during the pandemic. Luckily, it was hard, but it was good for us.
Sounds good. And again, you guys were ready. The fact that I think that was a perfect culmination because, again, 05, we're talking 05, happens in 2010, 15 years setup. Now, who would have thought that everything would be online? Everything was going to be to go. You guys were ready since day one.
Yeah.
That was just the perfect time.
Yeah, that was
for you guys to thrive.
Yeah, we saw the pandemic ahead of time.
Yep.
Parang ganun time.
We had a perfect business model for...
Correct. No, same with us. We were in the podcasting space. 2019, nobody knew what a podcast was. In 2020, my God, everybody was a podcaster.
Yeah.
Okay, it came from a point where everybody was just talking. I was pitching all these artistas, these DJs and whatnot. Hey, would you want to have a podcast? In 2020, it's Tito Boy Abunda pitching us to have a podcast.
Really? Yeah, exactly.
Everybody was a content creator.
Yeah, everybody became a content creator, diba?
Yeah.
So, but it now we don't actually watch TV. We just do
streaming
podcasts and YouTube.
Sounds
Change
good.
The industry all throughout.
Exactly. Now, my last question before we take our first break and before we go to the pay it forward part on the ROI, PLDT Enterprise ROI to success. What I love about your story is now the second generation is now involved. And whenever there's a second generation, I'm obviously first gen. I don't have a child. I don't think I ever will have. That's a thing with
that's what your age says.
Yes. Nope. Me and my wife, we don't want babies. Our babies are cats. That's what we have. But what did that? How did that come along? Like, having the second generation come through? Because at the end of the day, regardless of what generation it is, whenever there's two generations coming together, just like how you had to deal with your mom saying, "Nope, we can't touch this."
Yeah.
And what? Now you're in that part of your career now, where your child is involved. Walk me through how you got your son to get involved now, and how that dynamic changed over the last few years.
When did Gabby come in, Maria? About 5 years?
Started in 2017. He was still
pandemic.
He's about 2017. Yeah, he was graduating.
Pre-pandemic, pre-pandemic. No, originally I didn't want him to start off with us. As what the advice of some friends of mine, diba? Let him work outside the corporate world and all that. But I guess I was like saying, the best way for him to learn is through having to just be in the business from the get-go, diba?
Correct.
But in a way, I don't know if it was a mistake or, but in a way, I was telling Maria wasn't exactly happy about it in the beginning. Parang let him work first outside. But sabi ko, I needed to have somebody to help me out. Parang I wasn't exactly, when I started out the business, I wasn't that young anymore. And now I'm a senior, diba? They want to be working.
I couldn't believe when I saw your age. Like, what? How is he a senior? He doesn't look...
No, I am a senior. I'm past being a senior. I'm 62. So
I
wanted to, I didn't want to grow old, the wrong way.
Yeah.
I wanted to have somebody take over the headache of a business, most especially, the operations and the kitchen is the biggest headaches of it all, diba?
Yep.
So I wanted to get out of that. So that's how I brought in my son, diba? So I wanted him to learn because they would be the ones to take over if we do get to keep the business going and growing. So he had to learn somehow to be able to, because I want to retire as soon as I can, actually. So once I feel he's ready to do it, and I think he's getting there. So as slow as it may be, he will get there.
Yep.
So I would have to retire. So I don't want to get old and die early, diba? Marila and I have actually 2 kids, which I have a 7-year-old and a 15-year-old. So they're pretty young, diba? So I want to live through having to bring them up and get old with them.
Yeah, very good.
That's how we brought in my son actually to help us out.
Right, but what are the advice that you start doing? Because again, this takes time, right?
Yeah.
Especially with second generation. What are the things that you walk him through as the founder or a co-founder of a business that because buy-in or that instinct may come there. There are things that are probably he's a natural with, and there are things that you have to really mold him into that form as a successor eventually. Yeah. What are those things you had to really drill down on?
No, well, for one, you can't expect him to be like you.
Correct.
I mean, for one thing, you didn't come and join the company as an entrepreneur already with that kind of mindset.
Yeah.
It was set up. The business was there. So I figured in the beginning, put him in a place wherein he would learn slowly, diba, one by one. But I wanted him to actually be in the commissary because that's where the heart and soul of the business is, diba? That's what he should be learning because that's the thing that you can't hire somebody to run.
Right.
In the development and, handing of the stuff, yeah. Marila actually handles the administration side of it, the office. So that's separate from what he does. They do cross paths in terms of having to run it. But I guess that's what we're learning from at this point, diba? Because we only have 18 stores. Actually, that's very slow in terms of having to develop because I personally wanted to do it slowly because I didn't want to be
crash and burn.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to be that. I'll grow it as fast as anybody could, but at the same time, kill it as fast as anybody could. Diba?
Yep.
Slow but sure. Yeah.
Wins the race.
Yeah, diba? Once you found your... I mean, because it's kind of hard to... As what you would know, diba? It's hard to maintain it. It's harder to maintain it than to open it.
Yeah.
But being in it,
there's so many people that wants to start, but I always say it that there's actually in the tech startup ecosystem.
Yeah.
I'd say I think 7. I forgot the number, so kindly correct me on this in the comments. I think 70% of tech startups don't make it past year 3.
Oh, really?
They've crashed and burned.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right, we're at year 6 now.
I think that
so
you've been able to find. I mean, you found the right balance, I guess.
But what it took, honestly, what it took to get me here, I felt like I've lost 5 years of my life just to get this far.
No, but to tell you honestly, it may have lost you 5 years of your life, but it may have added.
Correct.
It may have added years to your life once it's set up because you'll be able to, run through this and parang breeze through as you get older. As I was telling
correct. Totally agree.
As well, diba? You work hard at the start of it because at the end, when you reach your ripe old age of 40 or 50, when you're comfortable, that's when it pays off.
Right. And I have to do this now while my body can still take. I'm 37 right now, turning 37. So kaya pa.
Kaya mo pa. So,
if I turn 50, oh my God, everything hurts.
When you get to that age, really, the physical side and your resistance level goes down.
Yeah.
The creativity, it may be there, but it's the resistance of having to maintain it and compete.
Correct.
That's it.
Yep.
That's how it.
The mind can keep up, but the mind can still do it, but the body can't keep up anymore.
Exactly. While you're at that age, just
all in.
Push in, all in. Diba? Kaya mo pa. Kaya mo puyat. You can do anything actually at that age.
No, not anymore. Why everybody like, I need to sleep. Okay. No, but you learn your balance as you go. Now, all right, let's take our last break, and when we come back, it's my most favorite part. I'll be asking you advice to fellow entrepreneurs and how you also leverage the PLDT enterprise solutions that they do so that you can maximize your profits and ROI your way to success. But let's talk about that more after the break.
Hey hustlers, before we resume the episode, let me tell you a very quick secret. Do you guys ever wonder how we're able to consistently release episode after episode here in Hustle Share without missing a date over the past 3 years? Well, it's not just pure hustle, because I'm also running my podcast along with me running my startup full time. Now, for some of you who have listened to this podcast, you guys very well know that I created a startup that is designed to help the best podcasters in Southeast Asia to realize their full potential, which is called Podcast Network Asia. And over the past couple of years, we've achieved quite a lot in P&A, helping hundreds of podcasters create world-class episodes consistently. However, what we realize is that we are not really solving the real problem of all podcasters in the world if we're not going to productize the thing that we're very good at, which is helping podcasters solve the two main pain points of a podcaster, which is number one, nobody really likes to edit their own show. Especially if you're listening to your own voice. Just like me, I cringe a lot. Having to listen to my voice for 3 to 4 hours just to release a 1-hour episode. It's no fun. And then the other thing is that most podcasters, just like me, are absolutely clueless on how to properly grow their show, which is something that we have perfected in Podcast Network Asia. So we've decided to put this all in one product that helps any podcaster in the world create world-class shows that people will love and will continuously grow. And that's why we created PodMachine. PodMachine is the most affordable podcast subscription service that helps you with your podcasting needs. We've got everything from audio production, crafting designs, and marketing and growth support. So as a podcaster, you can now just focus on the thing that matters the most, creating great content for your listeners. So, if you are an existing podcaster or someone that actually wants to create their podcast now, no need to worry. You got a founder's discount by listening here on Hustle Share. So sign up now at podmachine.com. And aside from the free trial that you're going to get as a new user, I'm throwing in another one free edit as soon as you sign up for just as low as $49.99 USD a month to start creating a consistent and world-class podcast. Again, that's podmachine.com and use the code HustleShare to get your founder discount. So if you have friends that are podcasters and if you want to have a podcast just like this, y'all know what to do. So just go and talk to you guys in PodMachine.
And we're back from the break. We are still with LQN, aka Luis Messina, the co-founder of Cake to Go, along with Marilyn, who then also is the co-founder of Cake to Go. And my first advice that I wanted to know, because again, we mentioned it earlier, picking up your co-founders, again, sometimes if it's family or friends, it's a hit. Sometimes it's a miss.
Yeah.
But I want to understand your advice for people who are considering getting their spouse or their partner or their family member in the business, because lines are blurred.
Yeah.
You know, if you bring that, if you are considering doing this, you have to risk that, hey, that relationship, wherever that started out, might be affected in a good way or a negative way. I want to understand what would be your advice for those people who are doing this, because success and especially business is a team sport. Yes, you can do it alone, but if you really want to go far, you have to build the Avengers. But I want to understand your perspective, especially in bringing in loved ones into the business.
Well, how would you put it? So, I mean, somebody has to be, well, you both have to agree, I guess, in the beginning. That's why I think Marilla and I worked it out. Parang she just followed. You have to, somebody has to be the leader, for one.
Diba? Somebody has to be Batman.
Yep. Somebody just like in basketball, there's a Batman and a Robin.
So, bahala ka na whenever things happen.
Yeah. No, and then you have to find your own, contribution to. You have to find what you are good at.
Correct.
And both of you would have, or whatever it is, if it's a partnership or a group that's going into it, you just find your own niche in the business, diba? And everybody has to agree on where you're good at.
Yep.
And who everybody, I mean, for that matter, who amongst you would excel, let's say, in moving forward, let's say in the development side of it, the admin side of it, or whatever it is that, whatever department there is, that's in the business, diba? That's, I think, primary and foremost, so you don't clash. Not everybody has to be the alpha in the business. So I guess that has to be agreed from the start. Or else somewhere along the way, as I've learned through past businesses that I've had, which well, at least you're still friends with my friends, but that's how it failed.
Right.
Everybody starts pitching in their idea. It's fine, but everybody starts trying to run it all at the same time. It fails.
Yeah, too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, too many cooks in the kitchen doesn't work. In any business, for that matter, I guess you'll end up just fighting, diba? Hopefully not physically. But there are times, diba, when you're younger, diba? Because you get, sometimes it becomes some people, even friends, diba? You'd find out that there are some things that you may not know of them that can take each other's, the wrong way. So sometimes it goes bad, diba? But I think that's primarily what it is when you start off a partnership or anything. You have to define both where you're good at or what you're good at.
You have to trust each other.
Yep.
And trust that he can do it.
Yeah.
And trust that you can do it. So else
you just have to respect each other's opinion. But at the end of the day, you both decide that he's the one who's actually is going to be able to carry through this. So trust is actually the best advice you can get in terms of when you have a partnership like this.
Totally agree. Now, okay, in terms of cash flow, let's talk about the most important thing, right? Because you've been successful in really making sure that from day one, when you raise funds, or Miss Marilyn invested her hard-earned money into this business.
Yeah.
What are the fundamentals that you make sure to make sure that profits keep rolling? Because obviously sales, it will come and go. There will be ebbs and flows. There will be seasons. But if you understand your cash flow well, it doesn't matter where it is. You'll always be able to make it. What are your advice for those people who, again, what I love about the story is you did not bite into the FOMO. Now, okay, everybody, Mary Grace is doing this and all these other blah, blah, blah. Habol tayo. You stayed in your own race and you now are killing it for the longest time. And that's obviously fundamentals in cash flow. Miss Marilyn, what would be your advice in terms of managing cash flow, especially, making sure that you guys make it to the end? Because again, your fundamentals are solid and it's no wonder you've been around for 20 years now.
Yeah, well, I guess since the cash flow is the lifeblood of the business, one thing, on my end, I think is managing the inventory well. Yeah. So
making sure that
that's how you unnecessary spending unnecessarily on things that aren't going to be profitable for the company. Having to have a healthy cash flow is always a positive on the development, diba?
Correct.
So that's how all throughout, diba? We never did get any loans from any banks, diba? When we started out, and We pushed through with all the branches. We spent mostly cash flow with developing and building our commissary. That's how we just manage the cash flow wisely. That's how I would, best advice would be.
Okay, that's good. Now, at the end of the day, sorry, go ahead, Ms. Marilyn.
Story lang, no? Because when we were starting, we used to get our inventory from the grocery. So, we put the label, diba? And then, see, sino ba yung supplier? So, getting a good supplier, the right supplier. Diba? Because, so, eventually, so, after a while, nung medyo nakilala na kami, it's already the suppliers who goes to you.
Nice.
Yun. So, since sila na yung hahabol sa amin, hihingi na ako ng terms.
Nice.
We get terms from our very good suppliers.
Love it. Yeah. So you can paikot the cash and you don't have to pay retail all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a privilege that you get when you get good business partners, diba?
Yep.
Supply.
And of course, that comes with great reputation, right? Because at the end of the day, even if you get terms and your reputation is, down the drain, wala.
Break your credit to them and mawawala ka talaga, diba? That's how.
Right. I love it. So now, last question before I let you guys go. And obviously, talk about the immediate future. But when PLDT came in to really help out, what was the main catalyst na, and what is the immediate future that you guys are gonna be doing with PLDT Enterprise being a catalyst for what you guys have been doing and what the immediate future would look like?
Well, now we of course we intend to open up more stores, diba?
Yep.
Hopefully about 3 to 4 in a year. We partnered up with Shell because we found that what they offer is what actually the business needs, which is accessibility. Mostly these gas stations are situated in areas wherein people live.
Yep.
And people, go about the daily businesses. So it was a perfect fit for us to start off now with one of the gas stations, which is Shell, in one of their branches. So they're offering to us different locations to see if it will work for us. But I'm confident that, it is exactly what we are looking for. It's a lot easier to the accessibility it provides, diba? So now, in terms of what PLDT and their business solutions, the high internet speed that is provided by PLDT is a game changer for us, diba? Because it helps us manage, both our deliveries and our management of the stores through the service that it provides. So Cake to Go continues to deliver high quality cakes our customers love, even as we open 4 new branches every year, thanks to PLDT's enterprise reliable broadband and postpaid solutions.
Thank you so much for such an amazing episode. I am now craving for cake, and I already know what my cake for my birthday would be like, because I will just pull up to my favorite branch, your Timog branch, who's always been. You know what I love about your Timog branch? That's just a testament to you guys. Your katabi has changed so much, but your branch has always been a staple there. I know I'm close to home when I see
exactly. But our neighbors have always changed over the years.
Yes.
Diba? Well, hopefully we still stay there as as the years come by. Diba?
For sure.
When your birthday is, we'll have a cake delivered to you.
Oh man, it's on the 29th.
Just give us your address. So
I'm in Cavite now, but okay.
We have a Cavite store.
We have a branch in Imus.
Oh, yun. Sakto, I'm in Imus. All right, thank you. Now everybody knows from this episode, but before I let you go, follow us on whatever podcast app you're listening to, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. And again, if you did say some jargon, it's going to be the show notes on hustleshare.com. And also, if you want to be like PLDT Enterprise, our ROI to success. If you want to support the podcast to what it is today, so we can create great content like this, please subscribe at premium.hustleshare.com. Again, LQM and Miss Marilyn, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.